2 races up, 2 races down, 2 winners so far with 19 other drivers, hoping that the third time is the charm. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you to race numero tres of Season 2 of the White Knuckle Racing League and the Xfinity Series, where we have short track action at the historic Richmond Raceway. No high-speed drafting or high banking this week, as a new challenge takes place this week at the more technical 3/4 of a mile track. The early part of the season has been dominated thus far by Team Hendrick Motorsports, but will a newcomer flex their good years tonight and take home that checker flag, or will we see continued dominance in the Season 2 HMS campaign? We'll find out soon enough at the end of the 125-lap quest and see who comes out on top at the conclusion of this event. I'm Tim Wells, a.k.a. Turtle Wells 73, and I'll be your voice of tonight's action here in Richmond, Virginia. It's a beautiful night here at virtual Richmond Raceway, and of course, I'm happy to report there's a 0% chance of showers in the area throughout tonight's race. Should be action-packed from start to finish as I welcome in my broadcasting partner, Matt Montgomery, a.k.a. Coach Matt. And Matt, this is a track that will bring many different challenges than it did a week ago in Atlanta. Sporadic pit cycles, a harder tire compound, and frankly, only one fast lane on the track. But Matt, what's it going to take when it comes down to white flag?
First short track of the season for the Xfinity guys, so it's going to be a completely different ball game. Strategy, I think, is going to be huge, like it always is every week. Running your line, taking care of your tires, turning left better than the other guys. So, yeah.
I will say turning left is pretty important at most of these tracks, but I mean, this is a track. I mean, you have to make adjustments throughout in your pit stops. You're probably going to want to go as low as you can on those left sides as far as tire pressure is concerned. But Matt, as a driver, what's the biggest challenge that Richmond offers these drivers?
Corner exit, in my experience, because when you set the car up, especially early in the run, you could set it up and it could feel too tight, so you might want to loosen it up. You get to a long green flag around that back end's going to kick out on corner exit coming out of turn 2, and it becomes really hard to keep control of. You could wreck, you could lose a lot of time. So making sure that you have your car set. I mean, you don't want to lose too much speed on the short run, but you've got to have it set up for the long run just in case it does go green, especially with how the cautions have taken place lately, with it being relaxed cautions and the flag not flying as much as we expected. But yeah, the corner exit, especially at a turn 2, is going to be huge.
Right, and we've kind of mentioned pit strategy already. I mean, in this type of racing, this type of series, strategy will always play important. But as always, it does play a factor. But short pitting on short tracks often is not as beneficial due to the fact lap times don't vary as extreme as say in Atlanta would. So a lot of it's based on how accurate you are in the corner entry and exit. But what strategies on your eyes will pay off today?
Well, it'll be real interesting to see what drivers try to do in stage 1. They're going to be about 4 laps short. But, I mean, the way the tires are wearing, like I said, you're going to have to be able to make both tires and fuel last. So it depends on just how much speed they're going to be willing to give up and how far back they're going to be willing to go. Short pitting is, obviously always on the table, but at the same time it can be dangerous. I tried pulling that in Atlanta. I was in the lead, decided to pit. I think I saw one of the RCR guys pit. I was like, hey, I'm going to try and pit with them, get on their cycle, because I knew I could make it on the same with our pit stops. And wound up getting caught by a caution and couldn't recover from that. I think I wound up getting 1 or 2 laps down. So it really is, it's just risk reward, staying out. You could lose time on the track to guys that are on pit road. But if you can find a way to, remove a pit stop from the race and pit one last time, that's obviously going to be a huge advantage just due to how much time you spend on pit road. But, if you short pit, obviously you're going to be a lot faster. So, it just really depends on driver preference and where the strengths and weaknesses lie.
All right. And, Matt, there's been a lot of talk about cleaning up these races. Do we chalk it up to early season nerves and impatience, or is it possibly just that the tracks we've been at so far that kind of caused the scrutiny?
Well, Daytona is, 200 plus, closer than most people park. So, I mean, one little mistake there is going to cause an issue. And so that's just Daytona. Atlanta is, it's a completely different track, but at the same time, it's almost the same way. There's still pack racing, it feels like, that's involved, and there's really one lane there with people trying to hug the bottom because you lose speed as soon as you try to go to the outside. But I think it's a mixture of things. Track type certainly is one thing. Early season nerves could be another. But at the same time, I feel like there's so much talent in this group, and everybody's wanting to prove themselves. If they come from other leagues, or maybe they're just used to racing in online lobbies and finishing, better than where they're running, they might get frustrated and try to get more in the car than that's there. So I think a lot of it has to do with these guys are so close to one another speed-wise that they just wind up on top of each other, and they're just trying to make moves and get positions anywhere they can. So without the field really getting too spread out, just because how talented these guys are, it does make for closer racing, and closer racing does lead to more wrecks. So.
Well, right on. And, Matt, Daytona and Atlanta, they're tough tracks to completely judge talent on, especially when we have seen so many cautions in Xfinity. But throughout the first couple of weeks, what drivers have stuck out in your opinion so far after the first couple of races?
Well, I mean, I'll just go ahead and get the Hendrick guys out of the way. I feel like they've been strong with both Citrus and Don't Want winning the first two races of the year. And I think Hendrick last year was like 1, 2, 4, 5 at Richmond, not last year, but last week. But I think they've obviously been a strong group. But let's see, some other guys that I'm looking at. Nimco Wood, I think, has been really strong, and I can see him ripping off a couple wins here and there, just based off of his talent. He's kind of the main one. Obviously, you can't forget about Caps, last season's Cup champ. He's always going to be a factor. King Shadow was really impressive during preseason. I don't think he's had a chance to really prove himself just yet. So a lot of things are going to factor into it, and to what the remainder season is going to be like. But I think we're definitely going to see some guys we haven't had a chance to talk about as much kind of rise to the top. Either here, next track. Eventually they're going to get there, get comfortable, and get a chance to really prove themselves and put themselves in that position.
Absolutely. And Matt, we're at Richmond, more technical track. So why don't you go ahead and give us tonight's Hugger Orange's keys to victory?
Well, like we talked about, strategy is going to be huge. Being able to conserve fuel and tires, and to make it to where you pit less than everybody else, if that's possible, is going to be huge. Corner exit, like we discussed, make sure the car's set up to where you're not getting too loose on corner exit, but at the same time you want the car to be so tight to where you're losing a ton of speed in the corners. And then patience. It's a short track. You're going to get bumped. You're going to get rattled. There's going to be contact made. So just making sure you keep your head on your shoulders and not get too flustered and frustrated and drive mad, drive upset, because that's just going to wind up making you dig an even bigger hole. So those are the three things that I'm keeping an eye on. And I think if people can control those things, then they'll have a really good shot to win.
Well, there you go. Those are tonight's Hugger Orange's keys to victory. And we just got an update for the qualifying results. I will give you the top 5. Starting on the pole tonight is Muscle Cars 24 with a 21.350. Pretty impressive. I've been practicing all week just trying to get a feel for the track. I couldn't get better than a 21.5, so very fast lap out of Muscle Cars. Starting on the outside pole in the second position is King Shadow 09, a guy you just talked about who's strong in preseason. And in the third position, we have Masopes with a 21.478. And the fourth spot, we have Ski Mask Leezy, old Ski Mask himself. And rounding out the top 5 is Sporty Morty 888 with a 21.509. So that's your top 5 for tonight's Toyata 125. So guys we haven't really seen out in the front a lot this year. So far, a good qualifying run. And that's going to be huge at a track like this. Track position is going to be important late.
Yeah, track position is going to be really important. I know they're probably running looser setups in qualifying to get those better times. So hopefully they have a really good race trim set up to where they can maintain those positions. But yeah, track position is going to be huge. It's not like Daytona or Atlanta where there's more room to operate. It's going to be like I said, a lot of beating and banging and trying to hug the bottom for sure. So track position is going to be huge. You want to get up front, stay up front. You don't want to get stuck back in the pack. But yeah, really good qualifying from those guys for sure.
And last week's winner, Don't Want None 3, starting in the 12th position. I mean, sometimes qualifying can be difficult. You only have a few laps to really get your fast lap in. You mess up one of them, it's hard to get in rhythm. So, I mean, expect some of these guys, maybe some slower lap times, to fight their way through the field. I mean, you look at a guy like Don't Want None, winner of last week, and week 1's winner, Citrus on Twitch, qualifying 14th. So those guys tend to figure things out, so I expect them to move their way through the field as well. But being back in the pack, Matt, I mean, sometimes you get caught in some action, it really slows you down. So that's where the pit strategy, you might want to risk the short pit if you're farther back in the field.
Yeah, that is true. Being farther back, you might want to, mess with different things and just try and figure out ways to just gain every position that you possibly can. I know it comes to starting in the back. I mean, the first 2 races for me personally, I missed qualifying for Daytona due to another league event, and then Atlanta, I put in a setup that I hadn't run all week, just trying to see if I can get a faster time out of it, and I couldn't control the thing. So I eventually worked my way up to the front in both those races, but you really got to, grind to get there. So track position is important, starts with qualifying. But we'll see what those guys in the back do to try and make their way towards the front.
And I mentioned on last night's broadcast with Sporty and Ski at the truck race in Iowa. Me personally, my philosophy, for short tracks, I tend to stay out as late as I can because if you do try to short pit and a caution comes out, you're risking 2 or 3 laps down. You might not be able to make that back up in time. So that's one of the risks you kind of play with if you do short pit. But if it does pay off, I mean, it really pays off. But it's a risk reward thing when it comes to the short pit.
Definitely risk reward. Like you said with short tracks, I mean, in all honesty, the reason for short pitting, it really depends on the fall off from fresh tires to worn tires and how quickly that happens. If you're able to beat other guys on pit road and they stay on track, a couple laps, if you're 3 or 4 tenths faster, and say you get a couple laps in before they pit, you open up almost a second and a half gap there, just on track time. But like you said, if you're at a short track where you're on pit road for however long it takes to get down there, you're sitting there for 15 seconds, getting your tires and you're feeling everything. You could be on pit road for anything from like 30 to 40 seconds. That's 2 laps. So you will come out of pit road a lap down, and you will be laps down until the leaders decide to go ahead and pit. So the leaders staying out prevent themselves from getting caught laps down, but at the same time they're losing time on track. So it really just depends on what happens.
All right, we'll be back in 1 second as we join. We got the go ahead and join the race, Matt. And we now take you to the Toyota WKR 125. Early season jitters are out of the way. Now the quest for a championship truly begins as the green flag drops here at the Toyota WKR 125 at Richmond. And so far, joining halfway through lap number 1, Muscle Cars 24 with their early advantage. And honestly, Matt, when you're leading up front early on the race, it really takes a lot of pressure off trying to move your way through the field, especially if you can create a gap. You don't have to focus on the guys behind you. You just got to look at that clean air ahead of you.
Yeah, it's real important though to not get stuck looking in the rearview mirror and make mistakes. You got to stay focused on what's in front of you, run your lines, and not get too distracted about what's behind you.
And Muscle Cars 24 continues to lead. Just a few laps inside the Toyota WKR 125 here at Richmond. As we go back a little farther back in the field, check out some other battles going on. Ski Mask Leezy, who's actually making a run at the leader as we speak with Muscle Cars, a guy who's kind of struggled the first couple weeks, had some bad luck, but so far, strong showing in the first few laps here at Richmond.
Yeah, I think for Muscle Cars, this race is going to be really important. I think he's had lag issues the past 2 weeks, so hopefully he's taking steps to get that fixed. But I know he's looking to get a solid finish here and improve on his points position. If he can get a win, lock himself into the playoffs.
And this is a big event for sponsorship as he's representing the Toyota vehicle at the Toyota WKR 125. And we see Sporty Morty now join the party, working his way up to 4th. Sporty Morty is actually experimenting with the new G29 wheel versus a controller this week, so it will pay off for him.
Yeah, that's a huge learning curve, going from a controller to a wheel. I know you and I both rock our dual shocks, and we do what we can with them, but I know there are certain advantages to having a wheel and a clutch if applicable, but definitely going to be interesting to see how well he handles it and how much practice he's put in. As we're saying, Matt Masopes takes the lead away from Muscle Cars, and looks like Ski Mask is going to take second and move Muscle Cars back to 3rd.
And Sporty challenging for the 3rd position now. But Matt, you're spot on about the controllers. We're out here, you and I, to dual shock the world, if you don't mind me make my pun-induced jokes. And
I don't mind at all. I'll take my controller and go against the wheel guy. I ain't scared.
Just let me pretend I'm Mike Joy for a second and make everything cringeworthy for a few minutes out of the race. And it looks like Sporty Morty gets in the wall.
In the wall, comes across the nose of the 36, and he's good recovery back on track. Definitely.
That's tough for Sporty Morty. He had changed numbers this week after A.J. Allmendinger was welcomed into NASCAR Heat 5, winning a good showing this week. Still early in the race, so plenty of time, and no caution is out at the moment.
He was in the 10 car before, correct?
Yes, he was.
He missed out on a great opportunity. I think not Cindric. Oh God, my NASCAR. No,
Ross Chastain.
Ross Chastain. Yeah, dude, he's sponsored by like a moose this week or something. Like the car's like beamoose.org. He could be driving a moose around the track in a couple of weeks.
Right, and I'm looking at a battle a little farther back in the pack, but Do Redneck 520, who raced twice last night, is now all of a sudden find himself an opportunity at an Xfinity ride. So hot seat here in the 89 machine for Do Redneck. I believe is that the Roush organization?
That is the Roush organization. They're in the 89. I know they had an opening there when they had a driver step away from the series, but good to see Dude Redneck, man. He's really put on a show. He was in development starting week 1, and he's already kind of I guess you have like a verbal agreement. Nothing really written down quite yet due to the fact that they can't really do anything till this Friday, but looks like he's definitely impressed those in the Roush organization. He's gotten a truck ride, and now he's gotten a truck hot seat, potential truck ride there, and then he's also gotten a hot seat Xfinity, which is really exciting for him. So.
Yeah, good for Dude Redneck. He's worked really hard, put a lot of laps in to work his way up. Kind of like a NASCAR 05 Chase for the Cup situation. You're starting from the bottom, and now we're here, as the great Drake once said.
Well,
I don't know why I said
it. In my mind, that's one of the last great NASCAR games was 05, man. Having the hero villain system, be able to run your own team, and I think there's that Walmart cheat code where you get 10 mil, so you can start day one, buy your own NASCAR team. That was always fun. Hire drivers to do the racing for you.
Oh yeah, it made life a lot easier getting that extra 10 mil. And Ski Mask starting to close in a little bit there on Masopes, but Masopes so far with an early advantage here at the Toyota Care 125, or probably within a 10-lap window of pit stops. Like you said, about a maximum 32, 33-lap window, but it depends on how long you can make those tires last.
Yeah, I think this first stage is somewhere between 32 and 33 laps, and I think they start with anywhere from 20 to 29 laps of fuel. So some of these guys lag a bit, might not be lacking speed. They might just be looking to conserve a little bit. But speaking of hot seats, it was kind of a last-second thing. Unfortunately, Dover had some internet issues, and so I reached out to one of my truck guys who unfortunately had an issue last night to where he couldn't race, had a family emergency to deal with. And so I reached out today, hey, couldn't race last night, you want to race tonight? He said, heck yeah, and hopped on like 5 minutes short notice, just because Dover didn't have those issues till right before the race, unfortunately. But Butters rocking the 8 car tonight. Looking forward to see how he does.
Good for Butters, getting his opportunity in Xfinity, and it will be 18 laps to go this time by. It's a 37-lap stage. We're about halfway through stage number 1, and we might be seeing some pit stops here soon. And Matt, is this a situation where you consider staying out as long as you can, taking 2 tires?
The cars have spread out a little bit, so you might not have to worry. Oh, the 9 car just got sit in the wall by the 98, as we're talking. So, obviously, we'll avoid incidents like that. The 9 car. Wait, who was that?
The 9 is Citrus on Twitch. The 11...
The 5, King Shadow. And that's King Shadow's coming up pit road.
The 11 also involved. Wally 14 gets back on the track with some damage. And I believe
him. Yeah, that's my fault, man. I messed that up. Yeah, I saw a car go in the wall, and I just assumed it was one, and then I was wrong.
It might have been the 9 and the 98 that made contact, and the 9 puts the 98 into the wall, and the 98 goes around. So bad blood there, and it gets into the 7 car. That might bring out a caution.
I just saw the 98 car do a backflip. I'm not sure if that's accurate on broadcast, but definitely curious to see what happened there. Did you saw that on your screen?
I did. I was able to capture that on my screen. I'm not going to make assumptions. It did look like some payback might have been in place. And I can't tell if we're under caution yet. No, I think we're still going.
Still green. But yeah, that's one thing you definitely want to avoid. Especially in short track, tempers can run high, but you do not want to retaliate and take another driver out on purpose. That'll wind up in some kind of penalty or suspension, or even removal if you're not careful.
And it looks like our leader at the time, Masopes, had wrecked coming onto pit road as well. So a lot of mistakes early on in stage number 1. 15 laps remaining. We'll try to get an establishment of who is in the lead. A lot of craziness as pit cycles have begun. But hopefully one day, Matt, will be blessed with a ticker that works. Until then, it's a guessing game.
Yeah, and NASCAR Heat, if you're watching this, they're 704, whoever's in charge. Would be greatly appreciated. So, you said the 54 wrecked on pit road?
According to our live chat, 54 into the wall. It looked like he wrecked coming to pit road.
Okay, so he's not in the lead then. Does that mean Muscle Cars is in first? Or...
Yes, I just got confirmation Muscle Cars is leading.
Alright, awesome. I'll keep an eye on him and see.
So I'll switch over.
Guys already spread out. We get stuck in these pit cycles, and it's hard to tell who's who and where and who's where.
Especially at short tracks. It makes it very tough to tell sometimes. So thanks for bearing with us on this broadcast. Trying to figure out who's in charge. But about 12 laps coming at the line. And Muscle Cars has yet to pit. So he's probably, Matt, you said about 29 lap cycle as far as making on fuel?
Yeah, that's if you just run it run as far as you can. But with tires and end fuel, you're looking at about 28, 29. If these guys don't pit, it just means they're doing what they can to stretch it. But at the same time, you risk running out or getting stuck pitting really late and losing a ton of time on track. So definitely be interesting to see what these guys try and pull off.
And Muscle Cars coming back around, coming off of turn number 2.
And like I said, if I'm Muscles, I might be looking to stay out as long as I can here. If people are starting to pit, I know a lot of times cautions will occur from people trying to on and off pit road, so you definitely want to get stuck a lap down. So maybe he's just trying to stretch it as far as he can here, and then look to pit late, maybe just take a couple tires and
get those stage points.
Get those stage points, yeah.
Yep, 10 laps to go this time by. As Muscle Cars continues to stay out. And it's possible we actually missed the entire pit cycle of Muscle Cars. So I wouldn't even rule that out at this point. It's been a crazy race so far. No cautions, a few wrecks. So far it's come down to keeping your car clean. I mean, Soap's already made a mistake getting onto pit road. And we'll see what Muscle Cars does this time by. Still staying out. So I'll give it a couple more laps. If he hasn't pitted by then, it's probably safe to assume they've already completed their pits.
Yeah, that is true. But I can't help but think that Darlington's going to be the same way tomorrow. We're going to get real spread out, and pit cycles are going to be all over the place. People are going to have all kinds of strategy ideas in mind. So it's going to be real tough for Jimster. I keep track of that tomorrow. So good luck for him.
Yeah, I don't really envy him working his that broadcast tomorrow, but Darlington should be a good one. And it looks like, according to our in-race reporter, most have not pitted yet that are still up front. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. These guys that are pitting early, are they going to be able to run these guys down if they do wind up having to pit late? Or these guys that are staying out, do they have confidence in their ability to save what they've got? Maybe they've been hanging out with Jose. Get that Jose thing going on. If he's ripping off, we'll see. Because I know he's probably the best in the Cup Series at that. But yeah, definitely a risk reward here on what these drivers decide to do.
The issue with Darlington, it's so hard to save fuel because there's not a lot of opportunities to save fuel without giving up a ton of speed. So you're giving up a lot of time by trying to make up those laps. So something to keep in mind if you're a Cup driver. I'm sure you know this already by the amount of work you put in.
Yeah, I know we're getting laps in last night, so definitely going to be an interesting race for sure. I'm excited. I know a lot of people dread that track, but that's one that I actually have a lot of fun at, so looking forward to it.
Now, the 9 has caught the 78. I'm assuming the 9 has already pitted. As the 78 still came to pit road.
I believe the 19 of Skew Mask I just made his way down pit road. I'm so used to that car being that bright Menards yellow that I confused it with another vehicle. So.
And Matt, 4 to go now. 4 to go now. Still a few cars who have not pitted. And Muscle Cars
is right around where I noticed that pit window being, so it'll be real interesting to see what happens from here on out. We'll have to get the stage results and see who was able to save the lead out.
I mean, it's extremely impressive these guys can make it without pitting. So, as of right now, we'll be at 2 to go this time by. And Muscle Cars 24 has so far been able to withstand all the controversy on the track, avoiding wrecks, keeping that nose clean. As he heads into turn number 1, 2 to go.
Oh, 9 car goes around. I'm not sure if that's a blown tire or if he caught the apron, but I did see him spin there in the background while keeping on the muscle cars.
And trouble for the 9 of Citrus on Twitch. And it looks like that was the stage. So Muscle Cars 24 takes stage number 1 here at the Toyota KR 125. So pretty chaotic, got pretty spread out. I don't believe the 78 had pitted, Matt. So if that's the case, that's super impressive he was able to save that much.
Yeah, and that's going to put a lot of stress on those guys that did pit. Now they're going to have to figure out a way to save themselves and try and get their laps back. But yeah, it looks like it was definitely a blown tire for the 9 car. He spun and could not get the car back on the track. So it looks like he tried to stretch it and maybe just wasn't able to save enough.
And that seems to be the case. And I get the top 5 for stage 1 getting points. Muscle Cars finishing first, T-Berg in second, TCW comes in third, Citrus on Twitch in fourth, even with the blown tire, and Don't Want None finishing in fifth. And Jose Protege makes a solid point in the live chat that a lot of guys are going to be a lap down due to a few drivers not pitting at all in stage 1. Which, to be honest, Matt, I'm surprised to see. I figured at least everyone would have to pit at least once.
Yeah, I mean, but with it being that close, I think there's going to be a couple guys that were going to try and take that risk, and it looks like it did ultimately pay off for them. So I think with the Xfinity series, with these races being shorter and the stages being shorter, that's where there's more of these opportunities open up for these guys. Because I know in the Cup Series, I mean, we're looking at, 50, 60-something stage, or lap stage. So Xfinity is a little bit easier to save. But yeah, those guys that being a lap down, they're going to have to figure out a way to conserve, not bringing down pit road, and hopefully get their laps back.
And as of right now, there's only 5 cars on the lead lap, so your top 5 are all on the lead lap. So Muscle Cars continues to lead. Coming out of turn number 2, there's going to be a lot of racing up there in the back, trying to people get in position to get their laps back. Without a caution, your only chance to get that lap back is to, well, 1, be in front of the leader, or 2, be the first car lap down at the end of stage 2.
Yeah, and with you making that point, was there anybody that did get their lap back after stage 1? I know you said the top 5 didn't pit, so was there who was in 6th?
I did not get confirmation on who the 6th position was.
Because, I mean, whoever that was, they're going to have to start at the tail end of the line, so I'm curious to see, especially with how jumbled it is now, who was able to get their lap back.
It'll be interesting to find out, and stage 2 is usually a few laps shorter, so these guys might even again not elect to pit. So Muscle Cars continues to lead with Don't Want None in second.
So the 7 car of Rich Gang Evo, he started in the back of the pack. He was the one that got the lucky dog, so he is the 6th car on the lead lap.
So 6 cars on the lead lap, so he's got some work to do to try to make a case and get in that top 5 for stage 2. But assuming these guys have the ability to not pit again, I mean, if these guys don't take care of their tires and fuel, you might be 3 or 4 laps down by the end of this race.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want your race to be over before you can get a chance to race forward in stage 3. So the fact that Muscle Cars was able to lead the whole race in that first stage and not pit is extremely impressive. That means he's definitely put his work in. He knows he's got I'm not sure if he races for Roush or not, but he's definitely stolen one of Jose's calculators, it looks like. But yeah, I mean, be able to hold the lead and save and not pit, I mean, that's impressive stuff.
And Don't Want None 3, it looks like he is closing on Muscle Cars 24.
Yeah, typically the second stage is shorter than the first by a couple laps, so I wonder if they feel a little bit more confident in pushing their cars, or if he's just trying to see if he can't push the 78 to use up a little bit more of his stuff.
I mean, I think that's not a bad strategy. I mean, we saw the 9 blow his tire on the last lap of stage 1, able to stay on the lead lap, but not contend for a chance to win stage 1 and get some extra points there. But Don't Want None has his nose to the rear bumper of Muscle Cars, has the inside line. If he can make it stick, and he cannot. But I mean, a track like this, you got some classic short track racing, some boot scoot boogie, as I used to say. Put the nose to to the rear bumper, move them up the track, and you pass them. Little door bumper clear.
Hey, that's a podcast, ain't it?
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of these guys trying to keep their cars clean as they're trying to save that money.
Oh, God. You got like a list of these written down somewhere? Or?
No, they pop into the old noggin, and I say them. Sometimes gets me in trouble, sometimes it doesn't. And T-Berg joining the party now. The top three continue to pull away from the rest of the pack. Muscle Cars still holds on to lead over the one of Don't Want None 3, and T-Berg in that third position in the 36.
Ooh, I wonder what happened to Ski Mask. He's got damage on the front of his car, and he is in front of the leader, so it looks like he's in jeopardy of going a lap down. Possibly even 2 laps down if he was a lap down there at the end. So I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully he's able to recover and get back towards the front.
Mag, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of frustrated drivers after this race. That's just my interpretation of so far what's going on. But stage 2 is 33 lapper, and yeah, so right now we'll figure out what lap we're on. We're about 10 laps in stage number 2. But
19 coming down pit road, so it looks like that damage is just too much to deal with. He's going to go ahead and get that taken care of now. Go ahead and get 4 freshies, tank full of fuel, and we'll see where Ski Mask comes out of the pit cycle.
And
currently, the T-Berg says, hey.
And T-Berg, who made his Xfinity debut last week at Atlanta, had a strong showing, caught in some trouble, but was able to come on with the top 10. And we have 18 laps to go up the line. So not quite halfway.
For a second. I was trying to think of something clever to say. Unlike Turtle, I struggle in that department.
Hey, yeah, that's why I make the big bucks.
That is true. That's why I'm the co-anchor, and you're the main man.
I have made dozens and dozens of cents broadcasting by volunteering my talents.
Oh, wait, you're getting paid? That's ridiculous.
I'm getting paid with support. There you go. Up to almost 50 subscribers. Thank you to everyone subscribed to the Turtlecast. And Citrus on Twitch looks like one of the few cars that's still on the lead lap, trying to make his way back through the field. They're a little farther back in the pack, and is now past the 90 and turns his focus to the 54 and the 1 car of Don't Want None, who's in position number 3. And it looks like Muscle Cars has separated himself by a few seconds, or at least 1 second over T-Berg. And so far, a lot of beating and banging. A lot of guys probably not too happy being a couple laps down. But that's the way it goes sometimes. If you guys can figure out a way to make it last and put yourself in a position where you lap the entire field, I mean, why not do it? Why not try it? If it's going to give you the best opportunity to win. Let's see, Muscle Cars dives it down in there to turn number 3. 15 to go this time by. And see if we can find some action a little farther back in the field. And so far, it's been pretty spread out so far, Matt. I haven't seen a ton of action since the restart. I think guys just trying to fight for a position just to have an opportunity to get a lap back.
Yeah, that is true, but I do think that this week's race has been a lot cleaner than the past 2 weeks. So these Xfinity guys have kind of settled in, and they're racing better as a result, I believe. So definitely glad to see more green flag laps than we had the past 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So far, caution-free. There's been some incidents, but not a ton of cautions. Actually, none so far. So guys have been able to clean up. I kind of expected that at Richmond, where it's not as fast and it's more technical. So I'm happy that we were able to bring you guys some cleaner racing so far here in the Xfinity Series. Trying to go through the field now. Sporty Morty, 888, taking a look going into turn number 1. And T-Berg Still not quite on the back bumper of muscle cars, but he's working his way up there.
Yeah, if you're still aboard a Sporty Wardy, looks like he did get loose coming out of turn 2. That's one of the things that I kind of pointed out before this race started, is just how you set your car up. Real important corner exit. Looks like he definitely did an awesome save there from what I could tell, though.
And taking a look at Muscle Cars 24, on board with him now. Coming out of 4, he tends to like to get a little loose going into the corner, able to keep it on the bottom. He's just ran a very smooth race so far. And talking to him in the last few weeks, he does love his short tracks. He finds that's his biggest strength in this series, are the short tracks, and he's proving it again here today.
Yeah, if you're able to stretch it again, save fuel, save tire, and like I said, maintain the lead, that's huge, and will definitely benefit him going into stage 3. So as of right now, I'd say he's definitely the favorite to bring this one home.
Yeah, so far so good. About 8 laps remaining left in stage number 2. I don't expect these guys to pit. I mean, as we saw from stage 1, I can't tell if they've ran it any harder than stage 1. But if you can make the tires last, and obviously they've been able to save a few laps. I mean, Richmond's one of those tracks, if you can lay off the brakes and just kind of coast most of the way, you have a great chance of succeeding in that. And that's a strategy I didn't even really think about coming into this broadcast.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you can stay off the brakes, coast it, keep the RPMs low, and not really work the tires too hard, I mean, you could potentially save those 3 or 4 laps that you need. You're definitely cutting it close, as we saw in the first stage with the 9 car, but like I said, that's one of the things that you've got to practice beforehand. You've got to know you can do it. It's not something you just kind of do on the whim. So that just shows that these guys have put the time in, and it's paying off.
6 laps to go this time by. Muscle Cars, that lead is slowly depreciating as T-Berg has started to come within a few car lengths of Muscle Cars. Perhaps we don't know if Muscle Cars is saving a little bit there, but T-Berg is trying to make a case to upset Muscle Cars and take stage number 2 away.
Yeah, depending on how many laps are left, maybe T-Berg thinks he's saved enough that he's going to try to make a run here and see if he can't take stage 2.
5 laps remaining in this one. So 28 of 33 completed. And, I mean, you're even noticing I haven't seen a ton of cars come to pit road this time around. So I think guys are picking up on the strategy and doing what they can to not already get lapped, because you never know how many cautions we'll get in stage 3.
Yeah, that is true. And so, I mean, tire position, if I'm a car to lap down, I'm not really concerned with tire position at this point, outside of being the first car a lap down. But if you're not anywhere near that, you just want to conserve that car and make sure you have to pit again and go, any further down, because you could get lucky, have an early caution in stage 3 and get back on the lead lap. So it's all about keeping options open and opportunities open to get back on the lead lap, especially since you were kind of caught off guard by those that saved in stage 1.
And 2 laps this time by. At the next, as soon as they pass the start-finish line, there'll be 2 laps remaining. And 78 gets in a little too deep, loses a little bit of time, able to retain his mobility as he takes finish line. 2 laps left, and he has a comfortable lead over T-Berg and Citrus on Twitch.
So yeah, pit road definitely have been busy. I think that will not be the case in stage 3. I think we'll never see some guys come down. And those that are on the lead lap, depending on how long this third stage is, I didn't get a chance to see, because most of the time I'm putting on this track, I put in the test session mode. But depending on how long stage 3 is, I think that's where we might see different pit strategies come into play. If you're able to stretch it to save a trip down pit road, I think that'll be preferred. But if it comes to where you're going to wind up pitting 2 or 3 times regardless, we might see the short pitting option come to play. But like you mentioned before, I mean, the lap times really don't fall off too hard from from green flag to further in the run where your tires have worn out. So yeah, like I said, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see. I've got no idea what these guys are going to try and pull, and I do believe that was stage with Muscle Cars winning his second consecutive.
That was the conclusion of stage number 2. Muscle Cars 24 winning stage 1, winning stage 2, dominating this race so far, and it looks like Citrus on Twitch was able to get the second spot away from T-Berg. So, I mean, I don't want to sound redundant at this point, Matt, but it has been the factor of stage 1 of staying out. I'm sure a lot of guys didn't expect that. I know I didn't expect that. So a lot of these guys are probably pretty flabbergasted at the fact they're now 1 to 2, maybe 3 laps down based on not realizing that you're able to stretch it that first stage. So strategy coming into play. Some of these guys will need a couple cautions to have a chance to get back into this race, but the top 5 of Stage 2 goes to Muscle Cars. In the first position, Citrus on Twitch, T-Berg, Don't Want None 3, and TCW running out the top 5. But what will be huge, Matt, is now you have a 6-car and Rich Gang back through the field. He'll be able to restart in that third row, and there'll be a 7th car. I'm assuming that we'll get back on the relap as well.
Yeah, that 7th car might actually be Masobe, so I think he might have come down pit road because he is starting in the back, and I believe he was up there towards the front, so he might have been the first car a lap down.
And Muscle Cars takes the first corner entry, but T-Berg had a great run coming off the corner, seeing if he can make a move. I mean, all it takes at this point, just to move the guy out of the way once, and put the pressure on him. As T-Berg gets way up the track, Citrus on Twitch moves into the 2nd spot.
Yeah, I think we're going to see these guys get a little more racy here in Stage 3. Saving might not be as crucial. So maybe Muscle Cars has been holding back and is going to be able to gap the field, or maybe we'll see some guys who have been holding their stuff back and maybe can get up here and challenge them.
And Stage 3 is a 50-lap shootout. Everyone will have to pit. I would pretty much bet my entire life. Now, that might be dramatic, but you'll have to pit at least once.
Yeah, unless they want to get out and push the car, which I'm not sure is legal, but do believe they're going to come down pit road.
And, Matt, to be honest, I don't have the strength nor endurance to push a car that far.
Yeah, somebody's going to steer it. It's going to wind up being like a 2-man job. Sticking in neutral. It's too much work, man.
Don't even get me started. I have to get back in shape. Do some curls, maybe a little clean and jerk. Get that muscle memory. Work that upper body. Get those endorphins. And Muscle Cars coming out of turn number 3 and 4. Continues to lead Citrus on Twitch, trying to make a run for his money here. But so far, so good for Muscle Cars 24 as we go back a little bit farther in the field. The free pass did go to the 54 of Masopes, who has worked his way about halfway through the field of a mostly lapped field. This is where he's going to really have to run an extremely tight race and make the right call on pit road to have a chance at winning this thing.
Yep, and just depending on what these guys have got in mind, I know if I was in this situation, I'd probably be looking to split the stage in half. They're 25 and 25. But maybe there's some guys that are thinking, hey, if I can make it 30 laps, why not pit on lap 20 and short pit a little bit. So it'll be really interesting to see here. It just depends on where you come out of pit road, if you get stuck behind traffic, if you get some some clean air. But it'll really be interesting to see when these guys bring it down and how it plays out.
And Masopes. Excuse me. Masopes is closing in on T-Berg. It'll be his first car of actual of the same lap traffic, so he is getting closer and closer to T-Berg. And I believe Rich Gang has moved up in the top 5 as well. And here at car screeching, which is always a good sign.
Right. But yeah, I mean, with Masopes starting tail end and already working his way up here, I mean, he might have something for these guys if he's able to work a little bit of strategy in there. Maybe just run them down. Like I said, he looks like he's really got the best of his equipment this run. So definitely impressive by him and his team.
And 30 laps to go this time by. We had a challenge for the lead. Citrus on Twitch takes it away from Muscle Cars. So Citrus on Twitch coming out of nowhere, able to make the pass for the lead.
Yeah, it looks like this is the first time that Muscle Cars has been challenged all night. It'd be interesting to see how he responds. Or maybe he's like, hey, you go ahead and use up your stuff. I'm going to sit behind you and see what you do. And, get his strategy based off of what the 9 and possibly the one does. There's the one starting to close in as well.
Yeah, and sometimes, Matt, I mean, being first can put you in almost in a sitting duck situation when you know you have to pit.
Oh, the 11 car goes around.
And Wally, I believe that's Wally 14. Oh, multiple cars involved. This one might bring out a caution. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks like it. All the cars shift up. They get slowed down. So, yeah, I think the 11 might have clipped the apron there. So, I think what happens here, and like I said, I could be wrong, I think we're going to see the leaders pit, and we're going to see those that are a lap down stay out. They'll be on older tires, but they can probably still make it on one pit stop. The leaders are just not going to pit one time regardless. But I think the majority of the field is going to wind up back in the lead lap here.
Yeah, at this point, the leaders, if they pit now, you're probably looking at about 32, 33 laps to go. They can make it from here on out, so you still are at a disadvantage. You need one more caution to really get back to having a chance to win this race if you do get back on the lead lap. So a lot of strategies. I know one guy who's absolutely loving this is the 54. He's going to be making up. He was probably 5 or 6 seconds back at that point, having the opportunity to race up front. He had a strong performance in stage 1, wrecked going on the pit road. He was the leader. People forget. So now this kind of throws a lot of strategy out the window, and now we're just going to be racing from here on out. Citrus on Twitch takes the green flag, and I expect some guys to race a little harder than they have been before. Citrus able to get a car length advantage over the 78, but here comes the 7, gets into his teammate Don't Want None, sends him up the track, and here comes the 54, trying to go a 2-for-1 here, passing both Hendrick guys, the inside line going from 5th to 3rd. Masopes making his way back to the field.
Yeah, so huge comeback story for Masopes. I mean, being tail end, first car on the lead lap, or first car a lap down, and then getting back on the lead lap, how to start tail end. Made his way up to the field. Caution comes out. He's sitting in 3rd place, man. That's great for him.
And Muscle Cars back on the rear bumper of the 9 of Citrus on Twitch. They both know from here on out, it's go time. Based on their strategy, I believe they both could probably make it with 32, 33 laps to go. So coming to the line will be 31. And Muscle Cars trying to get an inside advantage on the 9, unable to do so. And Rich Gang now trying to make a move on T-Berg, trying to retain that 4th position. And the 1, the 36, and the 7, now the 90 joins the party. A big battle for 4th spot as the laps are continuing to wind down. And from our live chat, full tank is 33 laps, so the leader should be able to make it from here on out. So barring another caution, most likely no more pit stops for the leaders.
All right, and so I just got a message from one of my drivers. He's chief right now for my camp. He says that there are only 8 cars on the lead lap. I believe the 8 was the free pass there, that last stage. So what I assume taking place, I guess we're just a little bit further along in the stage than I originally thought.
So all 4 Hendrick cars still on the lead lap.
Yeah, I believe so. So that's. We should see how the 8 car is able to work his way through the field. And if we have any more cautions, who else, so we're not really sure who's a lap down and who's not with how these guys are getting mixed up. So who else is going to be able to get back in the lead lap and try and get some field position or track position, sorry.
And the 54 making a move on Muscle Cars 24, trying to retain that inside line. And he should be able to clear Muscle Cars as long as he doesn't slide up too much, and he clears them beautifully and is able to take away that 2nd spot.
54 car is on a mission.
Indeed, he is. The full fuel run is 33 laps. So you'll still have to be able to stretch it and not run it too hard. But so far, Masopes able to flex his muscles and get back into the mix of things. And look, the 78 of Muscle Cars made a run back at Citrus on Twitch, but unable to make the pass. And the 54 came to swoop in. But Muscle Cars trying to make another run as well.
Yeah, if I'm the 9 car, I want to see these guys battle it out because I do think the 54 is probably the strongest car on the track right now. So he's definitely not gapping them by any means. The 54 is closing them in pretty quickly.
And he has a run right here. He's going to put a fender to the rear quarter panel. Might try to move him up the track this time by. And he gets loose coming in, so he might lose a little time there. But the top 3 guys...
And my thing with these top 3, depending on how many laps you're lapping, if we're looking at, like you said, around 30 or so, if these guys are really pushing it to try to stay ahead of one another, are they going to be able to make it the whole way through? Are they going to be able to conserve tire? Are they going to be able to conserve fuel? Are they going to have to wind up pitting as a result? Or some of these guys that are sitting kind of back a little bit, doing it based off of strategy and not because they're just a little bit slower right now? No telling what's going on through these guys' heads right now. What kind of strategy is being played? What these captains, if they're in the party chat, what they're trying to talk to the guys about. So these guys are pushing up front, and they were close to making it. Like I said, they might. There's no telling what's going to happen.
I think the hardest position at this point is to be that second spot because you want to chase down the leader, but you know you got to hold on to that second spot with the third guy right behind him, trying to pass him as well. So, and then, he has some help right there as Muscle Cars gets into the wall, loses a little bit of time there. So the 54 has a little bit of breathing room to run down the 9. We'll take a look how many laps we have left. 19 to go this time by. So a little bit past halfway through, but Muscle Cars has lost some time. I think it's the 9 and the 54's race unless another caution comes out. And the 54 sticks his nose up under where he shouldn't, and he's able to go side by side. He's going to dive into turn number 3. If he can hold it, make it stick, he will come out the lead. But here comes the 9, little switcheroo.
Crossover.
Some great racing.
These guys are going to be going at it. The 78 of Muscle Cars might be benefiting from this. He might just let these guys battle it out. Let them wear this stuff out. He might be able to cruise on by with pressure tires.
The 54 able to maintain position. And here comes Muscle Cars. He's going to send it. Trying to take 2 positions at once. Here comes Muscle Cars making his way underneath. Going for the lead. Side by side. Muscle Cars and Citrus on Twitch. That's exactly what Muscle Cars needed with these 2 guys to race it out and have a chance here.
Yeah, good recovery by him after getting stuck in the wall there for a second. Looks like it didn't affect it too badly. The 9 car gets loose going in. He clipped the apron there a little bit. These guys are, let's say, definitely in the class of the field. Hopefully they can keep it clean and hopefully this goes all the way to the finish.
With how hard they're racing, you got to wonder, will tires be a factor late in the race? Will one of these guys blow a tire? I mean, the
9 blew one in stage 1, so he might be, whether it's the way his car's set up or the way he was driving that car, he might be struggling a little bit with the tire wear. So if he's pushing it and these guys are pushing it with him, I mean, there's really no telling what's going to happen.
And the 78 finally able to clear the 9. The 54 moves the 9 out of the way a little bit. Try to get that inside line and push him up the track to clear for position number 2. So side by side, these guys continue to stay 1, 2, 3, just keep swapping back and forth these last few laps.
And we had just discussed how the 8 car was on the lead lap. Butters in the hot seat. He's unfortunately lost server connection. I mean, it made his way to the pit road.
Tough break for the 8 and that beautiful yellow mayonnaise machine of the Hellmans.
Yeah. Can you believe that Dell Jr. eats like peanut butter, banana, and mayonnaise sandwiches?
Frankly,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Frankly, it's disgusting.
You tried it?
I have not tried it. I'm just disgusted with that even possibility of its existence in the universe, man.
I think he's got some different drivers that try it, though. It looks like we've got a couple cars coming down pit road, so I wonder if we're going to be close to making it here. Because these leaders are definitely not holding off at all. As the 9 and the 54 going at the 78's taking off.
And the 9 battling back the 54, trying to get position number 2 back. And a little contact going into turn number 3, shoves the 54 up the track a little bit, able to clear him very quickly. Aggressive move there by the 9. I'm sure the 54 will see if he wants to retaliate at that, but at the end of these races, that's what's going to happen. Sometimes you got to get a little more aggressive. You have to send it a little harder than you should, but that's the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, 9 car gets loose on a corner exit, and like I said, I think these guys battle each other is exactly what the 78 wants to see. I mean, if I'm those 2 guys back there, I mean, yeah, you want to fight for position, but I might relax a little bit and try and give each other some room so you guys can run the 78 back down. Like I said, the 78 loves seeing that in his mirror.
And about 11 laps remaining, 10 to go this time by. And like you said, Muscle Cars loving every second of this.
Oh, 78 clips the wall. I'm not sure how much momentum he's going to lose. There's the 9 starting to close in a little bit.
And you have to make...
It might just be the camera angle.
You have to have...
He's there.
The 9's right there. You have to have a mistake-free race, and I think the 78 was probably driving in his rear mirror a little too much. Probably lost concentration coming out of the corner.
Yeah, so this gets interesting all over again. I thought the 78 was about to take off. 9 cars made his presence known.
And the 9, let's see how deep he drives it in. It's going to play it a little safe on the outside, try to do a crossover coming off corner exit. It's exactly what he does, trying to stay on the outside of the 78. And the 9 gets on the apron. I don't think that was planned. And he loses a ton of speed.
It gets back to 78 and loses him at the same time. Might be falling back to 3rd. Looks like he tried to dive in there. I think he was trying to get either his nose up under the 78 or he's trying to maybe diamond the corner off a little bit, and just too much.
Here comes the
Lost a lot of
54.
ground.
And the 54 is able to clear the 9.
See if the 54 can't run the 78 down. I think he's been one of the top cars tonight, along with the 78 and the 9. See if he can't run the leader down and give him a shot.
6 laps to go. Will tires hold up? They've been running it ultra hard, and Muscle Cars goes way inside, getting really loose coming off that corner. The 54 able to close in. Probably about half a second. He's going to get a nice run coming off this corner. He might be at that rear bumper on corner entry here.
Yeah, so these guys are right there on the edge in terms of the tire windows. And so, well, I mentioned, just as the run goes on, how loose you get coming out of turn 2. You try to take too much. And so I think he might have lost a little bit, and the 54 is taking advantage of it, and the 9 not too far behind.
And a lap car, potentially a lap car. Looks like the 1, don't want none, has a lot of damage to that front end. That might play a factor if you're trying to get around the 78 here. And the 78 gets held up. And the 54 bounces the 78 out to the outside, takes the lead, and here comes Citrus on Twitch trying to take the second. So these guys have gone back and forth.
Looks like the 1 was trying to get out of the way there, but that definitely hurt the 78. In that situation, if you're a lap car, you got to do whatever you can to get out of the way, especially with how these leaders have been battling. You definitely don't want to affect the result of the race by getting in the way. So, unfortunate to see that. Hopefully the 78 can battle back because he's definitely led the most laps and has been pretty dominant.
But they're not going away. The 9 and the 78 continue to race hard. 3 laps to go at the finish line. The 9 gets underneath.
Nobody's been able to get away from anybody just yet.
Just a couple laps remain. 54 now breaks out a little bit of an advantage. If he can just keep this pace and not blow his tire, he should be victorious. But the 9's not going to go away either.
78 gives a shot to the 9. These guys inside this late in the race. You got to expect that.
These guys back and forth.
I can't tell the 54 is lagging. It might just be the broadcast.
And the 54 is losing a little bit of ground too, though. I'm unable to predict who's the winner going to be. White flag this time by. And the 9 finally clears the 78, creates a decent amount of gap here. 2 laps to go.
So, was that the white flag, or are we on 2 laps to go now?
This might be the white flag based on the fact a lot of these guys who are a lap down, the information I'm getting, they might be a lap behind the leaders as far as the ticker. So we'll treat it like it's the last lap. 54 coming out of turn number 4. And just got confirmation, this is the white flag. White flag.
This is the white flag.
This is the white flag. Here we go. 1 lap to go here, the Toyota Care 125.
Sponsored by Credit One Bank.
And that was the checker flag. So we can't keep track. Come on, NASCAR Heat, give us a ticker here. But Masopes takes the victory at the Toyota Care 125 at Richmond. And a great race through and through. We're unsure
between those 3. That was awesome.
Unable to predict who the winner was going to be, but the 54 making that early mistake at stage 1, wrecking on entrance to pit road, able to get his lap back, fight his way through the field in stage 2, able to restart in row number 2, fought his way back to the top, and he held off some awesome competitors and Citrus on Twitch and Muscle Cars 24. So congrats to Kyle Busch Motorsports and the entire Joe Gibbs organization on their first win of the season in the Xfinity. So great finish there. And Matt, I'll get the official results here in a second, and we can start inviting these guys into our party chat so we can talk to them, see what their thoughts was, the strategy that took place as well.
Muscle Cars is actually Stuart Haas, due to the lack of Fords in the Xfinity Series. It's like 90% Chevy.
Muscle Cars is Stuart Haas. Gotcha.
Yep. So either way, if you have first victory of the season for Stuart Haas.
And a lot of great points in the live chat. I mean, these guys raced hard, raced pretty clean overall, and put on a heck of a show as I get the official results now. So Masopes takes the victory. First one of the year. Citrus on Twitch, again finishing in second position. Third, Muscle Cars 24. T-Berg 22 in the fourth position. TCW 1987 in the top 5. Rich Gang Eva 1006. Don't Want None 3 and 7th. And he starts the lap down train. Keith finishes 8th. Last year's champion, Caps, finishes 9th. And Sporty Morty rounding out the top 10. And so We'll be getting Masoap, Citrus on Twitch, and Muscle Cars in here. And let's see who I'm friends with. And Matt, I'm not friends with all three of those guys, if you can suggest to me. I'll get my soaps because that's easy to remember. And then the 78 and the 9. This delay in action has been brought to you by Hugger Oranges and Bob's Wired Fencing. Hugger Oranges. Get that calcium. Is there calcium in oranges? I don't know.
Yeah, something, and vitamin D or
vitamin something, vitamin C. That's what it is. But we welcome in Masoap's first win of the year. A lot of adversity in this race, man. Congratulations on your first win of the year. You went a lap down early, made a mistake, looked like going into pit road stage 1, able to get a couple breaks and race your way back to the front. But take us through that entire race.
Yeah, man. Stage 1 was really started third, so that was a great track position. I was able to get out front early, and just going into turn 3 with about, say, 14 laps in, I spun and immediately had to put it in pit road. Luckily, I spun out in the best part of the track you could spin out at, right there in the entrance of pit road. And it was a trouble going a lap down, but I worked my way up through the field and got a lap back to the final stage and just was able to race up front with those guys.
I got to ask, I mean, the stage 1 strategy, I didn't think anyone could make 37 laps. Were you a little surprised some guys could?
I wasn't really surprised, but it was definitely something that I hadn't seen before. Testing, I could make the full second stage, about 35 laps, a green flag run. Saw guys make 37, I was surprised. And, we caught a lucky break in the third stage with that caution, just to really sum up for one big run. And we were able to, pull away and have enough tire to get out in front and win the race.
Well, stage 3, I mean, it was back and forth between you, Muscle Cars, and Citrus on Twitch. I mean, what was the battle like? I mean, are you guys diving it in, or are you guys just being extra aggressive? Like, take us through really the last 15 laps.
Well, I mean, really, I wasn't sure if any of us wanted to be in the lead with about 15 to go because of how close we were to one another. And, guys are making moves that they wouldn't normally make in the beginning of the race because, it's go time. And but I could tell I got a little bit more of a drive off the corner than both of them on the exit of 4 and the exit of 2. And luckily was able to just work out where, I mean, I guess they used their stuff up a little more than I did and hanging back in third place, and I was able to get around them.
Yeah, and you have a message from your car owner, D-Blood 87. It says, Masoap's for Rookie of the Year. So big win for the Joe Gibbs racing affiliation. You guys have done a great job overcoming adversity the first couple of weeks. Have been dominated by Hendrick, so it's good to see Joe Gibbs get on the board.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say it was a great time, and thanks for having me. Of course, good luck to everybody next week.
Right on. All right, that's Masoap's. Appreciate you stopping by, man.
I know if I'm Masoap's, man, I'm not focused on Rookie of the Year. I'm focused on winning the whole thing. Why settle?
And he's gone. And he didn't want to hear what Matt had to say, so Matt will take another quick timeout. We'll take another quick timeout. That's coming from a newly married man. He's learning that already. Yep. So we'll take a quick timeout. We're going to get our second place finisher in here, and then we'll go from there. All right. And that timeout was brought to you by the Matt Montgomery Nobody Likes Me law firm. As we welcome in Citrus on Twitch. Citrus, tough race, a lot of strategy. But again, we see you consistently in the top 3, finishing second for the second week in a row, obviously coming off that week 1 win. But those last few laps, man, take us through it. A lot of switching back and forth.
I mean, those last final laps, I don't even know what happened with me, but I had such a nice lead. And I just lost it. The car just got loose off exit, and I tried to keep it control, and then the 78 gets to me, and then the 54 gets to me. I get past the 54, get past the 78. It just was just swapping every lap. But I'm kind of like upset though at the 78 because during those final laps, he kept racing me hard, but then on like the long runs, his car would just fade away. It wouldn't have any muscle towards the end of any run, and I think that's what prevent me from catching the 54, in my opinion.
So a little showdown between you and the 78 hurt your chances of catching up, you say?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to ask. There's a lot of talk in the live chat. I know in stage 1 there was some contact with the 98. Can you take us through that incident?
Yeah, we were simply getting off of the exit of floor, and I was underneath him, and I guess he got loose and came down into me and shot himself up. I didn't even touch him.
Gotcha. Well, Citrus, I mean, through 3 weeks now, you're still going to continue being the top dog in the series, coming away with a win and 2 top 2s. I mean, you got to be feeling pretty good heading in about a quarter way through the season.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it so far. Staying in the points later, I hope. See if I can win the championship.
All right. And Coach Matt, got anything to add?
I don't know. Good work. That battle there, it was a lot of fun to watch. I know, especially between 3 cars. I mean, we kept thinking one guy was going to pull away, and nobody did. I mean, the 54 made a huge comeback, was able to work his way through the field, had that caution come out that benefited him, and he was able to get up there and race with the guys. The 78 was dominant, I felt like, all race. And I know you guys, like I said, you guys might not be 100% cool with each other, but I thought, for the most part, for what we saw, that you guys kept it really clean, raced really hard, and, it's really hard to give too much, late in runs because, I mean, the race is almost over. You got to race for a position you can get. So
yeah,
I thought the racing was really good.
Yeah, I understand that part of him racing hard and defending his position, trying to get past me to get another one, but sometimes you just got to let the guy who's faster than you go. That's just how I see it.
I don't know. If I'm in his spot, man, 2 to go, I'm holding you up. So
True.
Because you never know what's going to happen to that leader. You can make a mistake as well, but regardless, another solid finish. Congrats on finishing second, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see ya.
All right, Citrus on Twitch. All righty, and we'll take another short timeout to bring in our third place finisher, Muscle Cars 24. So give us 1 second. And that short break was brought to you by the Indiana Pacers. Stop breaking my heart. All right. Had to throw it out there. I'm sure yours are sponsored by the OKC Thunder.
Been disappointed, since 2010.
There's nothing better than being a fan of a small market team. Definitely don't get mad.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you get big name players and they leave free agency, and you just gotta hope you draft good players and make it to the finals, and you lose, and then you get a 3-1 lead on the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and you lose, and your best player goes and joins the Warriors, and okay, let's not talk.
God teased me 1 year in 2006 when my Colts were able to take home the Lombardi Trophy. Ever since then, it's been a lot of heartbreak, a lot of injuries, a lot of Andrew Luck breaking people's hearts. Anyway, so we're still waiting on Muscle Cars 24, but until he shows up, maybe he won't show up, but if he does, we'll continue to wait and bring you expert commentary. But Matt, I mean, through and through, great racing, especially for that win. I mean, that's probably, we did see Don't Want None pass Citrus on Twitch last week for the win with a few laps to go, but now we're starting to see these guys get more comfortable with each other, racing hard, 3-4 car battles to get that checkered flag. So I mean, huge improvement from last week.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't one guy that could just take off and get away, and I think we saw that there in the end. I mean, those guys were pushing the cars, with everything they had. I mean, the 78 was in the lead and hit the wall because he's trying to just push the car for everything it's worth. So I thought the racing there was really good. Would have been interesting to see what would have happened if the one car wasn't in the way based off lap traffic. We could tell once they got to the backstretch how he dove and got out of the way, but I wonder if that's, the 78 is potentially upset by that. I know if I was in that position, I would be. But I mean, the race between those 3, whether they're frustrated with each other or not, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, they went at it and put on a really good show for everybody that tuned in.
Right. I mean, it just kind of depends on the relationship you had prior to the race with that driver, whether he's on your team or not. I mean, to put in perspective, if it was you or me racing for the win, we're going to race hard. It might get, a little touchy there at the end, but I know at the end of the day, it was going to be fun racing, and we'll have respect for each other. Unless you full on put me on the wall, which, you never know. You might do that, Darlington. We'll find out tomorrow, but.
Yeah, we'll see. It just depends, it depends. I don't know. So you going Big Cheese or Big Seltzer this weekend? Not this weekend, tomorrow.
I think Big Seltzer is going to make its debut.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're going Big Seltzer, man, you've got to get Natty Light to follow you on Twitter. You already got Velveeta. You got to figure out a way to get Natty Light to follow you. So.
I know, and I have country star Joe Nichols, who followed me in 2011. So proud of the companionship I've had with a guy who hasn't had a hit in about 10 years, but nonetheless, we're still trucking on.
Hey, a check mark's a check mark, man. I think the biggest guy I got following me on Twitter is Rob Perez. Worldwide Wob. He follows me.
Oh,
pretty proud of that.
Congratulations. That is a good follow. But on that note, I don't think we're getting muscle cars in here. So, Matt, any final thoughts on the race, and what are you looking forward to tomorrow at Darlington?
Darlington, I'm just hoping I can get up front, stay up front. It's going to be really hard to pass, and so hopefully, cooler tempers prevail. I thought tonight's race was great. There was definitely a couple guys that got involved in incidents, and I think a lot of it just had to do with how they were getting, off corner exit. Some of those guys were getting really loose and having a hard time controlling it. So, but I mean, outside of that, compared to week 1, compared to week 2, I thought it was a lot cleaner. And I think it's going to continue to get cleaner. I know that's one of the things we were worried about. The first race we watched, not a whole lot of green flag action. Second race, there was more green flag laps, but there was a lot of incidents that were happening that just weren't triggering the caution. But tonight, I thought it was clean, especially with being a short track and everybody being on top of each other. But it was, like I said, I think this has been the best race for the Xfinity guys all year.
Well, there you go. And Matt, what are you expecting? I know you just touched on it a little bit, but tomorrow, I mean, this is going to be a race that kind of separates the men from the boys. You're getting away from the super speedways and the miniature super speedways in Atlanta. Now it's going to be full on. Who's the most technical? Who can stay the most consistent? But what are you expecting from tomorrow?
Well, I mean, I know with Hendrick going in tomorrow with only 2 cars, I know I'm going to be real focused on, just making sure the 2 of us can keep our noses clean and, like I said, get to the front, stay to the front. It's going to be super hard to pass here. I know getting on and off pit road is going to be crucial, and trying to gain positions in any way you can. Staying out of incidents, avoiding the wall. I mean, the Darlington stripe's inevitable, but really that track to me is more about getting in a rhythm than anything. You got to be careful coming out of turn 2. You got to be careful getting into 3 and 4. You lose a lot of time there. I think laps are made in 3 and 4, honestly, but if anybody's interested, go and look at the all-time leaderboard. In Heat 4 and in Heat 5, you'll see 2 familiar names on the all-time leaderboard there for Darlington. Just throwing that out there, but like I said, it's going to be tough, man. That track is, like I said, you're not only racing the guys around you, you're racing the track, and that'll, like I said, I think tomorrow will be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I know you are too. We'll see if we, touch bumpers tomorrow night or not. But, final thoughts throughout the entire week. Great racing at Iowa in the Truck Series. Great dirt race there on Monday. Well, the dirt racing could be cleaned up a little bit too, but. All in all, Xfinity race, I thought it was by far the best race of the entire league so far. So hopefully we can continue that trend.
For sure. I'm still coming from the dirt race, man. I flipped a lot. And I don't know if my career on dirt's going to last very long. But, I mean, hey, first time that a Chevy hasn't won. Of course, Chevy's out there in P2. I mean, hard to go against a bow tie. But the first time I think a car that's not manufactured by General Motors has gotten the victory lane. So that was I wouldn't say nice to see. I mean, about time, I guess, but, always rooting for the Chevys.
Well, I hope you won't be too upset when RCR continues the trend tomorrow.
Nah, we'll see.
a little friendly banter. Well, guys, don't forget to subscribe on Instagram and Twitter at White Knuckle Racing. That's RCN and Racing. So subscribe on there. Follow the Turtlecast. Tomorrow's race will be at 9 p.m. on the James McCombs YouTube channel. Subscribe to him. And then Trucks, 9 p.m. as well. That is Thomas, however you pronounce his last name, Cezerski, some Polish BS, whatever. He goes by Sporty Morty, so make sure you subscribe to him as well. But for Matt Montgomery, I'm Tim Wells, and I send a thoughtful and heartfelt salute to our listeners and fans. We'll see you next week, and this has been a Turtlecast production for the White Knuckle Racing League.
All right, I'll catch you later, Big Chief.
Have a good one, Coach Matt.